lot of it.
Like it's my extended, like my family.
Right. Okay, we are now going to open the budget hearing for comments and discussion regarding the 2026-2027 Jervis School District budget. And Karen is here to read us some wonderful information. Please.
The special one. All right, I will read the three resolutions related to the budget. First is resolution number 06-26-8.1, adopting the 2026-2027 budget. Be it resolved that the Board of the Jervis School District Number 1 hereby adopts a budget for fiscal year 2026-2027 in the total amount of $61,865,290. Date June 17, 2026. Resolution number 06-26-8.2, making appropriations for the 2026-2027 budget. Be it resolved that the amounts for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2026, and for the purposes shown below are hereby appropriated. General Fund 100s, 1,000 instruction, $12,091,819. 2,000 support services, $6,838,737. 5,000 transfers, $1,839,158. 6,000 contingency, $949,260, for a total of $21,718,964. Special revenue funds, 200s, 1,000 instruction, $3,399,740. 2,000 support services, $3,226,310. 3,000 enterprise and community, $1,454,933. 4,000 facilities acquisition construction, $1,179,590. 5,000 transfers, $283,800. Total $9,554,373. Debt service, 300. 5,000 debt service, $3,601,943. Total $3,601,943. Capital projects, 400s. 2,000 support services, $30,586. 4,000 facilities acquisition and construction, $26,969,414. Total $27 million. Total appropriations, all funds, $61,865,290. Total appropriation, total unappropriated and reserve amounts, all funds, 0. Total adopted budget, $61,865,290. Date June 17, 2026. Resolution number 06-26-8.3, imposing and categorizing the tax. Be it resolved that the Board of the Jervis School District Number 1 hereby imposes the taxes provided for in the adopted budget at the rate of 4.6427 per 1,000 of assessed value for the permanent tax rate, and in the amount of $1,650,000 for bonds, and that these taxes are hereby imposed and categorized for tax year 2026-2027 upon the assessed value of all taxable property within the district as follows. Permanent tax rate, education limitations, $4.6427 per 1,000. General obligation debt service, excluded from limitation, $1,650,000. Date June 17, 2026.
Great. Any of the members of the public wishing to make comment for or against the 2026-2027 budget should indicate that they wish to speak at this time. For those in person, please raise your hand, and those via Zoom, please raise your hand.
We have no one via Zoom.
All right.
A member of the public.
All of you, raise your hands. All right, if there are no further public comments, we will now open the floor for the board discussion on the budget. Are there any comments or considerations that the board members would like to state at this time? All right, if there are no further board comments, I'll close the budget hearing.
Anna, did you have a comment?
No, I just thought you didn't hear me. So yeah, I hear you guys fine.
We'll now close the budget hearing and resume into our regular board session.
So for announcements, I've included in your board packet the OSBA summer conference. There's a couple of options if you wanted to attend. And so there's a flyer there. As I said in my confidential memo, we just want to let Sandra know we'll get you guys registered for that. If you have questions, you can ask me and we can share that with you as well. That is all I have to know.
Sweet. I don't think we have any public forum. So we can move on to
Administrator reports. So let's go with, not this one. Hold on. I'll go with high school. Oh. Okay, Sarah.
Sorry.
Oh.
we were just trying to get the birthday festivities going.
I am fully aware of the motto of happy wives, happy life.
That's right.
And I am just trying to facilitate that for my administrators. There you go. Take that.
Yeah, let's go. Sweet. Well, thank you so much. Just want to share a few updates, and the obvious one is we made the graduation, and it was an awesome celebration. And I will speak for the team. There's a group that we're really glad to graduate. We'll just say that there's been a lot of headache and heartache along the way, but graduation itself was a beautiful chance to celebrate a lot of successes, a lot of growth. It was really amazing. There's some comic relief that I'm sure the whole team knows about, but it really was a beautiful ceremony. It was so awesome to see the energy, the community support. For me, that was a really beautiful thing, kind of like be able to see that after a lot of work that had kind of gone into that. Just touching on a little bit, so go back to that kind of student expectations. We've tried really hard to set very clear expectations with regards to attendance and academics and behavior, but to also have very intentional and systematic supports and interventions for students, but to do it with a really high level of care and concern. We've really tried to do our very best to welcome students, to help them feel welcomed, and then this is the hardest piece, is then holding them accountable. And we presented last time, out of our 73 seniors, I brought a list of all the students who currently were not on track because they were either currently failing classes or hadn't met the community service hours or hadn't completed online credit recovery. And we did hold a compassionate line, I think is how I would phrase that. We met with every student who was below 90% of attendance. And we did grant a lot of hardships for students who we felt had legitimate reasons and had really made great efforts. There was a few that their attendance was so low, they didn't even apply for the hardship, which was probably just as well. And then, in those final weeks, we ended up having two students who targeted some staff members in kind of a really nasty way. And so they were excused from the graduation ceremony for that. We had two who vaped on the last day of school and were excused for that. Had another one who hadn't completed his community service hours. Had a couple for attendance and had a few more they just hadn't, credit recovery and things like that. So ended up being 11 seniors who didn't walk in graduation. And that was by no means the goal that we had set out for. And it was, I think, hard on every level. And truth be told, we came under a lot of attack for for holding people accountable, and some of it got really, really nasty, really personal. But so those days leading up to graduation were really hard. But again, I think like we try to provide every level of support, and we communicate with families a lot, and we kind of like really kind of like figured we'd bend over backwards for these students. Now, I'll just share kind of one like lesson learned. So I was feeling a little burned coming into graduation, just to say the least. And it was time to do the parade, and I told the team, like leadership team, that I actually wanted to walk in the back. I needed to still walk in middle school. I needed to have my kids just have time to linger. And so I told Doug to lead, and Becky and Julie were very adamant, Dusty, you have to be in the front because they have to see how you received the elementary school. Like the high school kids need to see, and Julie's words is just they need to see what they missed. Like because of the behavior that we had to address at the high school, they had a different principal than I think we hoped to be. And so walking to the elementary school, for me, like it was really, it just exploded. Hugs and high fives, but for me, it was so cool to be able to bookend this, to walk through a building with these kinder through fifth graders that I adore, absolutely adore, and then to bookend that within these seniors that we work really hard with. It just was a really beautiful experience to have worked with those kindergartners and those graduating seniors, literally within months of each other. So that's just a really beautiful experience. And I should go back. Well, it's probably too late now, but
You need to go back.
okay, just go back one more.
Okay.
And I will share some successes. It was awesome in graduation. You take like Madeline Eder, who's been coming and presenting. She is just an absolutely amazing woman. I think everything that we want to instill in a student, and she's got options and opportunities, and it's all being financed. It's amazing. And then in that same breath, there's another student who literally like days before graduation, we discovered that he hadn't even been registered for a credit recovery class required for his graduation. And so in an absolute moment of panic, and we worked with him a lot and his mom a lot, but again, like this great moment of redemption, and to have him there too, and his level of gratitude. You just like, thank you for getting me here. It's just so cool to see from the Madelines to the Josiahs, like how Jervis High School is serving the students. So it's really neat to see that on graduation night. Okay, so what are we working on? I listed where we're headed. When I came in, I told the staff, I'm not here to rock the boat. I just want to love and serve and support in any way I can. And then within days, it became really apparent that like there was gonna be some boat rocking. And I hope it's a collective boat rock. That is not Dusty rocking the boat. It's as a team saying there's things we want better for our students and for our staff. And so what's coming? We are going all in on some work that we've been dabbling with Inflection, and it's really identifying school identity and then a shared vision for student readiness and graduation. There's two anchors, and it aligns with the strategic plan, but it clearly articulates everything that we stand for, and helps us to prioritize the work that we're doing in high school. And it's going to be a lot of work this coming year in getting all of the stakeholders involved in that: staff, students, community members. So that is to come, and I'm really excited for that. We're also continuing to look forward with the PLCs, and this is the professional learning communities, and really like more like collaborative work between teachers and across not just contents, but also grade levels. Another big work that we're doing, and we're currently at a conference right now. This is all about academic interventions and enrichment. And so the elementary school is doing some work that's incredibly inspiring. And the middle school is now doing some interventions that I think are awesome. And we're trying to level that up at the high school and to get really intentional on how we're supporting kids that are struggling, and to catch that really early and to build that into our schedule. So work there happening. Creighton's been helping us to really kind of revisit and reimagine our Learning Resource Center and how we're using a class called Academic Assist, and providing specially designed instruction towards their IEP goals, but just trying to get really much more attention. These are kids who really struggle. And so if you look at our kids who are on that caseload, these are kids who struggle a lot. So we want to really provide a lot more support there. We're trying to get a lot more intentional about credit recovery and not just dumping them into the pause alt-ed program, but we're working really hard to provide really 5 different levels of credit recovery. And 3 of those are at the teacher record level. So the classroom teacher, like, you're not done with them. Like, we're still working with them, even after that grading period. And so things that we're working on there that I think is going to really serve our kids well. We were really blessed even to go down 2 FTE teachers to be able to expand our Willamette Promise offerings. And we just found out today that we're approved to go Willamette Promise for our calculus instead of AP, which is going to serve our kids a lot better. We've had so few kids successful in the AP exam, but Willamette Promise is going to be a lot more inclusive and accessible for our kids. So we're really excited for that. Syllabi literacy, it went up exponentially from last year to this year. And again, we're heading that trajectory. We're going to be doing assessments with students early. So even as freshmen, because they can get credits for this. So when you do it as a senior, it's like, well, we could have like planned very differently your educational experience. So we want to do this very early. Students who we know are bilingual, who could get that syllabi literacy, we want to get it early, get those credits, so we can then plan their high school a little bit differently. We're taking a model that the elementary school is rocking as well, and it's the school committee. It's the idea that everybody's part of a team, a part of a lift outside of your space. And so it's just trying to like share and distribute the leadership across the campus. This is gonna be a hard lift because in our last staff meeting, it was quite challenging. And walked out of that one feeling a little burned too. Because I think teachers, like, it's easy to say there's a problem and you need to figure out that problem versus like, no, we are gonna be the solution to this problem. But this is the direction that we're moving into, is to really like distribute this leadership across campus and shared ownership. And then I am so excited. We completely revamped our student leadership and our ASB Student Council, and we actively recruited students that had been recommended by teachers, and it is stacked. We have, I can't imagine a better group of freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors on our student leadership. We've got 2 advisors who are initially were hesitant, are now on fire. So like, I just feel like if we're going to change the culture on campus, like this is the group I think is going to help make it happen. We got the right people in place for that. So really excited for that work. And then again, going back to that shared ownership, we're going back to our class advisors. 2 of them have stepped down. 1 had resigned. And so we were really short on class advisors. And so really going and recruiting the right staff to work with these grade level teams and club advisors as well. Some other work that we're working on as well is just getting really intentional with our attendance policy. If there's one thing we can do as a district, and I'll own at the high school, one thing the high school can do is to show up. You know, show up, step up. And so this is something we want to get really intentional about, is how do we get our staff and our students in that door fully engaged every day. And then grading the late work. There's been just, we're all over the board when it comes to grading policies. And I can't even imagine the headache it is for a kid to navigate that. Even harder for a parent to navigate that. And so again, we want to get really intentional about how we're using grading to demonstrate student learning. Some other things as well is communicating with families. Again, elementary school does a really great job communicating with families, the high school doesn't. And the teachers have a really, really hard time with this. I don't have time. You got 18 kids in your advisory. You need to own those 18 kids. You need to communicate with those families consistently and regularly, especially when they're not there. And hey, is there anything we do to help? How are we doing? But we just need to increase that level of communication with greater care and concern. We are going next level in the cell phone policy. So when we came in, we had to crack down a lot on cell phones and earbuds and things like that. And the team had decided we're not going to address laptops or iPads, but now we will. And so we're going to go all district issued Chromebooks, because now we have all of our firewalls and our filters, a lot of other protections there. And so I'm excited for that. It's going to resolve some other issues. Plagiarism and AI use is something we're going to really address as a school as well, because this is becoming absolutely rampant. And our credit recovery classes is probably where it's the hardest. There's a classes they can do from home, and they can literally just copy and paste. And so there's been a lot of conversations. We've had to reset a lot of assessments. We've had to reset entire courses because we give them a 2-strike. 1 strike is we reset that unit. Strike 2, the course is done. You need to start over. And so we got to figure this out as a high school. We're addressing some of our counseling roles in collaboration. We're putting a new student center where the pause used to be, so that we don't have isolated single-thing counselors, but we'll pull them into shared spaces. We have a college and career center at the library. We have a student center with our student advocate and counselor, and then really having them collaborate more in the roles. Truth be told, is these are some of our staff members who are out the most for like extended like medical leave, things like that. And so when they're gone for extended time, it's really hard on the team. And so again, we're going to do a lot of work there. And I'm really excited. We are going to elevate the culinary arts program in a really exciting way. We're going to get the food truck and we're going to get it out. We right now have one applicant that we're interviewing tomorrow. Highly recommended. Was ripped from another program, but runs a cafe every single day. Is at every school event catering. And so we're not going to hire if it's not the right person, but I'm really hopeful we're going to find the right person who is going to fully ready to do all the things that we want it to do. So I'm really excited for that. And then we're also hiring in a new athletic secretary / library assistant, and really just reimagining how are we using the library space. And we need to get more books into kids' hands. We need to get more Chromebooks back to the school. And so, but really trying to work a lot with that as well. I think that's the extent of what I was gonna. Sure. Yep. Anyway, so there's a lot happening. There's days when you feel really good, and then the ulcers are setting in. You're like just more of how much has to happen, and really can we get the team on board with making those changes? And so we're just trying to be very incremental, very intentional. What's the next thing that we can do with that team buy-in? And so hopefully good things come.
You've done a great job.
So.
I mean, holding people accountable is huge. And I
Not
think,
fun.
no, it's not. But it also shows that you care, not just for your staff, but for the students too. I mean, so I think that, and it's good that the community can see that. Also, I mean, from my perspective, it's important. So.
Yesterday we handed out 3 diplomas up in the office. Beautiful experience. One was one of the girls who had been excused from graduation for writing, F words and B words for staff members, but to have her come up, maybe we'll talk about redemption, making things right, sticking with it. Not the way she wanted to graduate, not the way we wanted her to graduate, but still a beautiful moment to be able to celebrate with her for completing her credit recovery and getting that diploma, being part of the class of 26. So.
And the fact that you can get into it, it shows character on her part also. I mean, that can.
We've made incredible strides in 6 months.
Anyway.
Great job.
Yeah.
I don't know, one of the hardships that I heard, because there was a certain level where they would come to the superintendent. So this one person, he left Guatemala. So his attendance rate was like 70%. So not going to work right. So he left Guatemala 5 years ago. I think 5 years ago with his older brother. So has not seen his parents in years. Traversed through Guatemala and through Mexico and landed here. He's trilingual, so Spanish and English. But when he was talking with me, he said that he was so nervous that he wasn't going to speak English. He wanted to do it in Spanish. Okay, so Dusty translated for us. And so when it got down to what had been the problem, with this attendance, it was he gets out of school, whatever time, 3 o'clock, 3:15. He then drives to his place of work every day, where he then works until 11:30. And by the time he gets home and gets showered, it's close to 1 o'clock. And there are some mornings when, he can't get up. He's very tired. And he pays rent, he pays food, he pays card, all of the things that he's doing. And so in my mind, one of the things that we are teaching kids when they leave is resiliency and problem solving and adaptability. And that kid has demonstrated that. He also had a goal for what he wants to do when he gets out of school. He wants to be a barber, and he knows how to pursue that. So I had no problem. Yeah, she gets blocked.
And sometimes you hear those stories.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
Cool. Okay. Well, thanks so much.
Thank you. Have fun. Happy birthday.
Maybe you'll get some ice cream. I don't know. Okay.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
All right. I'll celebrate.
No,
That's okay.
that's totally fine.
More important.
No,
I just
You're
was
equally
thinking,
important.
I wanted to get up here and be ready. So you are usually the first one. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, well, I was thinking to myself as I'm kind of thinking about all the many things that I feel like I need to take care of still before the school year starts next year. And then thinking also about what I'm proud about and how we wrapped up this year. And I was like, gosh, what would the board want to know? So I was like, we're focused on science. I'll talk a little bit more about what that will look like next year. And then of course, always attendance and just updating you on what our attendance kind of procedures and policies are towards the end. Behavior and counseling, I've got some great data to share. So the conversation started when we looked at our OSAS scores. I think it was a Wednesday in April. And we were looking at math and reading, and what kind of came out of that was this organic conversation with 3rd through 5th, saying, well, let's take a look at, what is kindergarten through 2nd grade doing and what's their accountability? And then I think we might have had a conversation with Dandy, and she said, let's really dig more into these science scores and what that might look like for next year, making that an accountability measure with the state as our 5th grade science scores. So we thought, well, what does that really look like? And what does that school-wide effort really look like? So we started talking about specific interims that each grade 3, 4, and 5 would be giving to be in alignment with helping those 5th graders, do well on that science 5th grade science test. And then we also talked about, I said, hey guys, how often are we teaching science? Let's just be real about how often we're actually even teaching science. So that all of a sudden that kind of, raised the hair a little bit for them, where it was like, oh, well, you want us to work on, we've talked about a school in our PLCs about working on writing for next year. I think it may be shifting a little to reading because we realize the importance of that. But everyone's like, let's just be doing science. And, I'm saying, hey, what I'm saying is, let's just start 4 days a week committing to actually teaching science. And then let's also get in alignment with the interims that we're giving. And let's see what ends up happening. And Eliana said she would be willing on Wednesdays to model some science lessons for teachers and some strategies and like procedures that she uses in ELD. And she said that maybe teachers could use that in their daily lessons for science. She also said that, she said, Sarah, in Clever, I've created this bank of science vocabulary at each grade level, complete with pictures and definitions. She's like, do you think teachers are using that? I said, I don't know, but it's worth a conversation. And so just making teachers aware of the resources that are already available to them. Because we've talked with reading comprehension is the combination of decoding and then language comprehension. And underneath language comprehension is vocabulary. It's background knowledge and experience, but it's also vocabulary development. So really being intentional about our vocabulary development, not only in reading, but also using, I was talking to Dandy earlier, science and social studies as vehicles, but integrated curriculum to teach reading and writing. And then Eliana said, I'd be willing in August to, stand up and kind of talk about a lesson on nonfiction reading and the difference between teaching fictional reading and a lesson there and nonfiction reading. And again, how I do it in ELD. Cindy and Autumn just said, I'd love to get on board with this idea of science. I would love to be a part of it. She said that she would love to present in the first 6 weeks of school starting about how she is a teacher librarian, could come alongside and support our science efforts. So she said, if you could tell me the units that you're teaching in science, I'd love to pull certain books for you. I'd love to help some of those kids run those simulations. Eliana was saying one of the tricky parts about 5th grade is the actual simulation and navigating some of the drag and drop of what's actually required on the science test. And so getting familiar with and giving students practice with simulations. Dandy was saying, we could use the AI to get extra practice. If, your interims, you've exhausted your interims, we could use AI to create simulations and give kids the extra practice too. And I said, it's an evolving process. Dusty spoke about committees, and the leadership committee this next year will be looking at data, specifically looking at science, our work with science and how it's going, and looking at that data as we go along. So it'll be an evolving process next year with science, but it's something that we're really excited about. I think that we can make a lot of growth with it, given that our scores are lower than, what we'd like to see. So it's an area of growth that I think can be really exciting for both kids and teachers. And I'm not saying it's going to be easy, because I wouldn't say that, but at the same time, I don't think it's going to be as big of a lift as like reading or writing or math. I think kids naturally engage with science in a way that excites them. And I think teachers can really get on board with that as well and can continue that momentum.
When you
Oh,
say
that.
for
Yep. I
Eliana
don't
to
know how to go
model
back.
lessons on
Thank you.
Wednesday, is that like during your PD time when kids are gone type of thing?
Yeah, well, I think what she's saying is in the classroom. So
Oh, okay.
both, yes, and
Okay.
I think, but she's also saying in the classroom because on Wednesdays she doesn't have classes.
Oh.
So she could actually push in the push-in model going into the classroom and actually modeling with the class what it would look like for the teacher to be teaching in the way that she does with the LD. So when I'm in doing evaluations, I'm always really impressed with how she really brings vocabulary to the forefront. And the learning, her vocabulary, it's like it's posted, and so it's anchored. The learning is anchored, and kids can go back to it if they need to. And I just think teachers could use that as a model in a lot of different ways. You can do that with math, you can do that with language arts, but science is also an area where if there's a certain vocabulary word, you're anchoring your learning, it's there for kids to see. And I think teachers could really benefit from her modeling of what that would look like. Teaching the lesson, putting the vocabulary up there, and then continuing to use the vocabulary kind of throughout, not just that lesson, but throughout the unit. So, but also in addition to that, she is willing to, in our PDs, talk about her work with science and how she does that. Yeah. And the other thing that we've really been the other thing that we've really been focused on and trying to source out what it will look like next year is our TAG model and cluster grouping strategy. We started out at the 5th grade level last year as like a pilot, and now we are doing it at 4th and 3rd and 2nd. So what does that look like for our school? So Bonnie and Dandy, we've all been working together with a group of teachers. There's a kind of a leader at each on each team at each level, and there's a mentor text that teachers are using. Drea had some really inspirational stories to share when we met at the end of the year, talking about how her year had gone and what that looked like for kids. And I was able to share some of that with the new team, the leaders on each grade level team, and things like, even though there were intellectually gifted kids in class and academically talented, she had some average kids based on iReady scores, right? Some data. But those kids were really trying to push themselves throughout the year. And actually by the end of the year, we're actually getting into those extension lessons and wanting to kind of achieve and really wanting to kind of tussle back and forth with that academic language and those higher levels of learning. And then we're able to present at a higher level of learning than what they were originally able to do at the beginning of the year. So I think it's really an inspiration when we think about ceilings and floors and mirrors and windows for kids, and giving them opportunity to kind of Dusty mentioned it. We're in this RTI kind of workshop, and it's like grade level, but then allowing kids to kind of break through that barrier of what grade level is, and giving all of those kids those opportunities for extension. So I think teachers originally, I think it's overwhelming. So they tend to kind of say, oh gosh, what does this actually look like? And what are you asking me to do? But kind of through these stories, and then also with Drea having done the work and being able to be kind of a testimony for the work that she did this year, teachers are like, oh, okay, I'm open-minded to this. I think this actually is really best practice for kids. And when we talk about inclusion, our TAG kids are right there too. We talk about, we don't want to leave our TAG kids behind. We give intervention to our struggling readers and writers and mathematicians, but we also need to allow our TAG kids to break through those ceilings and be extended to. They should still be making a year's worth of progress. Our long-term objective, after my meeting with Drea, I thought, man, wouldn't it be great if we didn't. TAG clusters is a way to serve our TAG population. But another way to serve our TAG population is every classroom being able to differentiate instruction to allow all kids to be breaking through those barriers and just fostering all of our intellectually gifted kids in one classroom. It's one way to address that, but I think another more powerful way, hopefully as a school long-term model, would be all teachers are using these strategies. And that's the vision with having kind of a leader at each grade level. That I hope that you go back and you meet with your team and you talk about what you're doing in your class and the lessons, the extension, and teachers go, oh, well, that's really actually pretty doable. You're just doing that. You're allowing you're teaching your mini lesson, and then you're also giving kids an opportunity kind of to test out and to do something different than what maybe some other kids that still need that learning to, to be doing. So yeah, that's what the school, like the big vision would be long term. And then just more about our attendance. We continued, Dale, myself, and Sophia continued to just meet regularly and do home visits and nudge letters and that sort of thing. But I think that something I haven't talked about before is towards the end of the year, we look at interdistrict transfers. We kind of look to see, okay, what are interdistrict transfers doing? What's their attendance behavior as part of that interdistrict transfer form too? But we're really just looking at our interdistrict transfers here 90% or above. And that just gives an opportunity to go, oh, you're not? Let's call that family. And the good news is you have a little more teeth because they're excited about being here and we want them to be here. So we talk about, well, how can we work together because you're at 88%? You're almost there. And for you to continue to be a part of our district, we really need you at 90% or above. And pretty soon it sounds like it's going to be 94% or above. We're not quite there yet, but pretty soon it sounds like that's raising. So
That's a state expectation, not just the number I told.
I was gonna ask.
yeah, it's see the average because it does feel a little overwhelming, but it's good to shoot high. Good to shoot high. But it opens up conversation. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to review these interdistrict transfers because it does allow us to have those conversations. And then just thinking about what our attendance efforts are going to be going into the 26-27 school year, definitely having an attendance committee and thinking about key ways to improve or continue the good work that it was actually happening. And then I had the opportunity last week to actually go to court on one of our little cherubs. And what ended up coming out of it was actually a really great conversation with the judge and his family. Mom and dad are living in two different households, but just an opportunity to really meet with them face to face. I never met mom. We've tried several times to actually go out to her house, but we were unsuccessful in being able to actually get her while she was at home. And it was a really powerful conversation in helping both mom and dad to see that we're really here to support them. And they talked about, dad talked about kind of a lack of having a car. Mom, he lives with his parents in Woodburn and just kind of problem solving what it would actually look like. And mom was able to speak up and say, just call me when you're unable to get, him to school, and just having that family together in that moment in a problem solving way. And it was also, I'll get to it in a second, about field day. It's like, we'll talk about field day in just a second, but it was really kind of heartwarming because the dad and the two sons happened to be at field day and taking part in one of our family nights. And just kind of I've seen him more lately. So court actually, I think, just brought more of an awareness of being present, having his kid, be part of like school, school things, school events. And then also the child showed up at school a little bit more after I think they were, served with the citation. So it was about the conversation, bringing awareness, things like, what time are you going to bed at night? I mean, we got down to those sorts of brass tacks, and the mom saying, well, he's up till midnight. And the judge said, well, I'm going to say that it needs to be 10 o'clock. And I was like, actually, he's elementary school. I'm going to say 8 o'clock. Then you start bed at 8 o'clock, in bed by 9 o'clock at the very outside. So it was a really good conversation. We ended the year up 3% compared to our prior year. But that was the last day. So on the 10th, some kids don't attend the actual last day of school because I think it's not helpful for families when they get out of 11:20 because mom and dad's work and they kind of have to think about, childcare, whatever it is. But when I went back and kind of played with it and I looked at different dates in May, we were up at 1.8% and then 7%. It kind of bounced around. So I know it's a lot higher than just 3% it happened to end on. Oh, there it is. And then I want to talk about DESA, Julie Schnell, our counselor. We wrapped up the year just looking at it scores that really increased. Teachers did a really great job. Student growth reflecting the hard work, fewer students needing tier 2 and tier 3 emotional instruction by year's end. And I know it's really blurry. Like I put on my glasses, I took a picture of it on my computer to try to blow it up. And so I actually wrote it down here because I was like, oh my gosh. But the red, the first column is the beginning of the year. The second column is the end of the year. And red means needs instruction. And then blue is typical. So you can see that our composite score, but then like self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, optimistic thinking. I was like, oh, that's really great. A lot of blue there with optimistic thinking. And I just thought that that was a really powerful, when you think about looking at the positive and I can do this and I believe in myself, that whole idea of efficacy is really important as well. So you can see in every second column, more blue than what it actually started out with in the beginning of the year. Social awareness, really a lot of blue. Responsible decision making. I was like, okay, so really a lot to celebrate there. And then I wanted to talk about field day. It was really a fun event. It turned into like the biggest human slip and slide ever because the weather was really bad. And I was like, why? It was one of those like administrator moments where you're like, okay. And I was like, no, we're Oregonians. We're just going to give up.
That's right. That's right.
And I thought, man, did I just create like the biggest insurance problem for DC? Because, it did turn in all the bouncy houses, but it was a sunk cost at that point. So I was like, we're gonna do this. The bouncy houses are already paid for, they're already delivered, and whoever shows up, and you're gonna get more turns on the monkey bridge and the bounce house and all that. But I think rain or shine, the kids really enjoyed it throughout the day. There were puddles in their classroom after they went back and sat down in their chairs, but kids never complain. They'll be in the ocean when it's 40 degrees out and in the ocean for hours. It's adults that care more about that. So we ended the year, I feel like, on a really positive note. I feel like staff's in a really great space. I will say the lifts that I've asked, they might have looked at me a little sideways, but they're willing. And so I feel like I have their support moving into next year and the lifts that we're going to focus on.
I had a question in regards to Dale. I know he was here this year helping transition. Is he back next year for a little bit, or was he done?
He's open to coming back if we can find some funds to help with that. So we're just gonna kind of get closer to the beginning of the year and see where we're at. He's not able to come in the 3 days a week next year because of his own children, but maybe something structured.
He was great. He really was a great asset for our district. He was great. He's an amazing man.
Well, good job. You're doing great. Thank you.
Can you get to it, or do you want me to help? We'll let you help.
Have a great summer. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so good evening, everybody.
Hello.
So when I typed up the information and gave it to you, and it's in your packet, that's kind of you're just going to say the down and dirty numbers. It was a tough last month or so. Dandy jokes that I kept her busy because she had nothing better to do with possible expulsions. I had 3 boom, boom, boom right in a row. It was a tough end of the year. But overall it ended fine. The 2 boys that were 7th graders that came back had very successful ends of the year. One we had on a tracker, and he killed it positively. He did a great job, and he was beaming every day when he was showing me how well he was doing on his tracker. As you guys know, some of these kids, if they don't get that recognition positively, they're gonna do it negatively. And very much, that's the way this one boy was. And he was getting that positive feedback, and Mr. Silva was his mentor, and he loved going out and seeing Mr. Silva. So it ended up really on a very positive note. The one boy, the 8th grader, that went through possible expulsion, we ended up not expelling him, but it was the last like week and a half of school. So we just said, you can't come back. You're gonna have to work online for that time. And unfortunately, you can't do promotion, which was very sad because he was one that they were pulling teeth to get through and get him. And he was very close at passing things. And then he made that mistake. But as I told Mom, I just hope that he learns from this. And to me, this is the practice for the real game, which is the high school. And he's going to learn that you can't do stuff like this in high school. And high school graduation is really the ending thing that you want to do. So again, I think positive things will come of that. So just kind of went because that report was kind of tough. I thought, let's just do some fun stuff. So this is state testing scores. So we started with math. So the OSASs are state testing. So I put the one difference between middle school and elementary and high school and middle school is middle school, all of our grades test, where elementary, it's not, it's 3rd and 5th, I believe. And then the high school has their 1 grade. We do all 3 grades. So these are the district, the school, GMS, and the state scores for math. Not too bad. District 30% and 28%. The district numbers included 10 Algebra 1 8th grade students who all passed. They all received a 3 or a 4, which is why the district score is slightly higher than the school score. The state is 31%. I mean, not great, don't get me wrong. That's about 1 out of 3 that passed. So we're really going to be focusing on math next year. That's one of our huge focuses. Dandy has already contacted Willamette ESD, signed a contract with them to get some help for our 2 math teachers. I'm going to be talking to them. I just found out at the one meeting we were at today that they can help. I really want to buddy up with schools around us that are killing it in math and science, and see if we can buddy up with them and talk with them and what are you doing that we can be doing, and see what we can do with that. So it sounds like Willamette ESD can help us with that. So that's our math. So science, in science, only 8th grade take the science test, but 6th and 7th are obviously helping to can't teach everything in 1 year. So they're teaching things in 6th and 7th grade that will be tested on the 8th grade test. So district 29%, school 23%, and state 27%. The one kind of, I don't know if it's funny thing, but we had 2 8th graders that literally like 2 weeks prior to taking the science test left. They took the math test, but they didn't take the science test. It should be the other way around. They took the science test, but not the math test, and they passed. That would have helped out our math test, sorry. But they left, and we had like 3 kids come in that were very low academically. So it was like, if we lost our 2, that probably would have helped out our numbers. But district number, I believe, is incorrect on both the science and the language arts, because 12 students that went to Algebra 1 were counted twice. If you look on it, and the numbers do equate correctly, that is Holly Hamlin's class, which she teaches math, but it's popping up in our science scores and our language arts scores. So I don't know, we need to fix that somehow. It does improve our district scores, and we don't want to fix it. It makes, but yeah, so that's got to be figured out. So sorry, that was a little confusing. Language arts. So language arts, 6th, 7th, 8th grade do take the scores. These are kind of fun scores to look at because they're all pretty even. I mean, look at 41%, 46%, 45%, which comes out to a 44% are passing. So that, I think Pretty good. We're each year we're getting better and better in language arts. Again, why the district numbers I think are a little higher is those 12 students in Algebra 1 somehow are being counted, I believe, in our language arts scores. I'm not sure what's happening with that and how to get that fixed, but they're looking pretty good, and I think this is really promising for what we're doing. We're definitely, the races is going to continue next year, but what we have also learned, which was kind of mentioned in one of the other reports, is that we have learned that in the state testing, the reading is 80% of the score for passing in reading. Not this year, but last year we had a young man that did not write one single word in the writing portion, but did so well in the reading portion that he passed the state test. He got a 3 on it.
Wow.
So that just tells you how much importance is placed on reading. So we do really focus on reading, but we're going to even push that a little more for next year. Keep those scores, keep going up. So we had intervention this year. So I wanted to play with this. So I played with some of the numbers to see specifically those intervention kids. How did they do on the state test? So looking at the OSAS testing, these are specifically our intervention kids. So we had 64 kids who were in math intervention. We had 3 intervention classes, a 6th grade, a 7th grade, and an 8th grade. Specifically, Helen Warburg taught both the 7th and 8th grade math, and Kristen Kamat taught the 6th grade math. Of those 64 students, all of them came in and not a single one had passed. And that's why they were placed in there. And 21 of them passed this time. So 33%. And we'll talk about this here in just a second. And in English language arts, we only had, because of the schedule, we only had 2 intervention. One was 6th grade, and then one was a combined 7th and 8th grade. So we had 39 students in English language arts, and 14 of them, or 36%, passed. So I thought that was pretty good, and I think it's even going to get better because we're going to have intervention again next year. This was something that Helen did specifically because there's only 24 responses. That was with her 8th grade class that she taught to them. She did a survey, and one of the questions was, could you choose your top 4? And of course, this is their opinion. We don't have specific data on this. This is their opinion. What did they think, all the things that she did in intervention, what helped them the most? And by far, the small group lessons they thought was the most beneficial to them. The next one that comes up is teacher examples. And then Delta Math. Delta Math is she explained to me, was a free math program similar to our iReady. But this one, she said the kids liked much more. And one of the reasons they liked it was when you did something incorrect, it came back and told you which problems you got incorrect and what you did wrong.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, so they like that and she liked that. This is interesting, and we're having discussions about iReady. Our students don't like iReady. They really don't. And 0% said that they thought that was helpful.
Can you do Delta Math instead of iReady, or is iReady just across the board?
Well, we could, so we have to have interim assessment. And it has to K-8, and for our district, because we've already purchased iReady, it has to be iReady. But we don't have to do the lessons associated with. So like they take the test, it gives you a diagnostic of where you're weak, and then it creates a lesson plan. We don't have to do the lesson plan, but we're gonna have to do that 3 iReady.
So
Because that's one of the state requirements. But my my direction to the middle school, well, to all schools, but the middle school, is that then you need to figure out a way that you can identify the standards and the targets the kids are not meeting, because iReady does that. And so I don't know if Delta Math will do that. I don't know if they use the iReady piece and then they're going to have to go map it themselves, which seems like a lot of work, but if that's what they want to do. I think the biggest bang for our buck will end up being the small group lessons, because that's what elementary does. And so having the teachers trained in how to do do a big group lesson, then there's small group lessons, and the teacher works with individual groups of students. It's like a rotation basis. That's again more of an elementary school model and not one middle school teachers really do.
Helen
So-
did do that in her class, and she said that was when she used iReady, is because she would say have like 3 groups in her classroom. She would be working with one group. Mr. Silva would be working with another group, so they had two adults in there, and then the third group was doing the iReady lesson, or working on homework or whatever, and then they would rotate around.
So
Yeah.
if they don't use the iReady, how would they identify where they're lacking?
So as Danny said, they do have to take the diagnostic tests, and those are 3 times a year. One in the beginning, one in the middle, and then one at the end. The struggle with this is, and I don't think it's just a middle school thing. I was starting to say maybe it is middle school, but I don't think so. In talking to elementary staff, is how do you have the students take it seriously?
Right.
Because they go in, and some students, don't get me wrong, do. I mean, those kids that, want to do really well, so they'll go in and they'll take it seriously. And so it will spit out in both math and language arts. Here's where you're doing well, here's where you're struggling. And so where you're struggling, that's where we're going to have those lessons. Well, that's great for the kids that take it seriously. But unfortunately, a lot of the really lower kids that really need the iReady and need those lessons, they're just sitting there, or they're poking a number. I was literally walking out today with one of the elementary teachers, and she said, I was watching a student that should have had headphones on and didn't have headphones on, had it sitting there. And so when it said something, they didn't even hear what was being said. They were just poking a number. I was like, well, how do you use that then?
Yeah.
Because that's not giving us a real what Tony needs.
Right.
So that's the struggle. I have heard pretty good things about Alex. Alex is used in the high school in math, and I don't really, because I don't know what really the difference is between Alex and iReady, that the teachers and the students actually prefer Alex over iReady, and I don't know why.
But the state again has adopted 3 interim assessment tools before. One is the statewide interim assessment pieces, which it gives you information, but not like exactly what to do with it after that. And we did implement that piece as an additional interim assessment, and then it's iReady, MAPS, or STAR. And we have already spent so much money in PD on iReady. We do not have the funds to switch systems. And I, just based on my experience in Silver Falls, like, it's not gonna matter which program we pick, they're gonna find a problem with it.
Right.
And the bottom line is, it's one data point. So then use your other 2 data points to figure out where the kid is at. All of the curriculum that we've adopted has a digital component and has assessments in there that they could be using that also identify the standards. They can pick the standards that they want to test. So, a kid goes through and just randomly picks something, then you're looking at what the assessment in a curriculum, how does it correlate? And so, I mean, my pushback to saying I saw a kid doing this is that then you stop the kid and you say, guess what? You didn't have to stay after school.
Right, or something.
Aren't you lucky?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I think that kids rise to the expectation that you set. I wonder is teachers' negativity towards iReady, how has that impacted
Right.
kids' perception? So, it is what it is at this point.
Right.
And so as we come back together in the fall, they're gonna see what the state's expecting. And math scores in 7 years at the middle school are supposed to be 70% passing. So my message to the staff is, you can either do it for yourselves or the state's going to do it to you. So be in charge of yourself. Tell me what you need. And I'm sorry to take your time.
No, you're fine.
Cindy Smith at the elementary school, when we were having the conversation about Wonders versus really great reading versus another curriculum that they wanted, she said, give us really great reading, and in 4 years, you're going to see the difference. And we are. Their reading scores now, they did a 12 percentage point jump from last year to this year, 48%. So I think they might be above the state average now. And so but she's the point person. She owns it, and then she has the leverage with her colleagues to go in and say, this is what this looks like. This is what you need to do. Same thing with Eliana. We're bringing her on board to do that. And then you've got Stephanie So with the map. And so it'll trickle up,
Yeah.
but it just takes some time.
Sure. Yeah. It's gonna change and change for the better. It definitely
Yeah.
does. Next. Where are we? Here we go. All right. So just student pause. I know I mentioned these before. So this was a picture I took before it was torn down. So these were paws that were given out all year long to students. When you see clusters of paws, that's because kids like to put them together. So that's like all one kid. So when they come to me, I always ask them, and they know the routine, who gave it to them and why. And so it could be for multiple reasons: good behavior, good grades, positive incident, helping somebody pick up something that was dropped, anything that's nice, and any staff member can give them out. Kids love these, one of my biggest struggling students with behavior, I think he got one this year, and he literally asked, can you take my picture in front of this so I can show my mom? I mean, oh my gosh. Yes, I'd be happy to do that. So yeah, meant a lot to the kids.
Maybe some pause stickers for people who do I read.
And then this was something that I did with staff. I counted up, we did 86 staff paws were given out during this school year. These were given from one staff member to another staff member. I just today had a conversation with Amanda Braswell about this. She said, I love this. I do want to continue this. But she said among staff members, something that was mentioned is that, and I did notice this, there are some staff members that seem to get a lot, and then other staff members not so much. And some of the staff members that seem to get a lot are people like the SPED teacher or the counselors or the office people, because they're helping a lot of people. They're seeing, a lot of different staff members are helping a lot of people. Where I'm in my classroom, you don't see that as much. So I've already jotted down notes that I'm going to make sure to do that I saw Jenny do this amazing thing in the class, and I will give a pot to them. So hopefully that will help. So that was really good feedback that I got just today. So this was something I did today, which also was a new thing that I'm going to tweak for next year. So Aloha actually saw this on like TikTok, and we kind of adapted it. She's like, can we do this? And I'm like, yes. So when Mr. Zavala took the kids to track to state, I went in and commandeered his class. And at one point, a teacher walked in and said, can I do this? I'm like, no, go on. I was trying to keep it a secret, but I had every 8th grader. I did a little certificate of appreciation that they chose a teacher, staff member they wanted to give it to. I bought pins that they put on it. On the back, they would write a note. Some of them just wrote a little sentence. Some wrote a paragraph. And then you can see a couple of them didn't like this. They didn't. They lined up here, and I kind of stood here, and they handed the microphone, and they said, I'm giving my appreciation to this person. And if they had a novel, they just said like a sentence. And then they walked along and then gave it to them. So that's what they're doing. Next year, I'm having both staff and students have a lanyard that they're going to be wearing. And so the staff can put the pins on their lanyard if they want to. It does kind of make it cute. Again, tweaking things. I noticed that some of the teachers were chosen a lot. So there was a whole bunch of staff and a whole bunch of students that were gone that day because of track. And I did put a stop and say, okay, you can't pick these teachers anymore. So we could kind of share the love. I'm going to have to even tweak it a little more because there was, again, it's like, darned if you do and darned if you don't.
Yeah.
There was a couple teachers that got their feelings hurt because they only got a couple where other ones got like 6. So, I mean.
So I tell you something. More impressive that you're getting the kid to talk out loud.
Yes.
That's the biggest plus.
And you don't see, but over here is all the 6th and 7th graders. So they are all sitting there watching this happen. So yeah, so I am going to do this next year. I'll tweak it a little more. So we'll make a little less number, just again, try to spread out the love. So The kids really like this.
I
by the
bet
way.
so.
They were very excited about this. So 8th grade reward trip to Oaks Park. They have to get 70% or better, so C- or better, second semester. This is just second semester. Of the 71 students, 49 got to go, so 69%. It was pouring rain that day.
It looks
It
like
was
it.
flat.
It's pouring rain. So yeah. So that's just some pictures that were taken. This was the last day for the 8th graders before promotion that Tuesday night. They had practiced in the morning, and then they were with us for lunchtime, and then there was a recess before they left to go home at noon. And I was just out there like clicking pictures to do for promotion, but taking pictures. So this is very popular, playing volleyball, playing basketball is what's happening up here. This is also volleyball. And there are actually a couple 7th graders in this group, but just a group of guys. And I said, does anybody want to give me their phone number so I could send this to them? And actually 3 of them were like, yeah, I'll give you my phone number. So yeah. So fun picture, fun group. And then we did field day, but ours wasn't an all-day field day. It was an hour and a half. Very last day of school. So we do it after the 8th graders leave. So this was Wednesday with just 6th and 7th graders. We had a beautiful day for it. It was perfect, like mid 60s, no rain. Brandon Jones is the one that does this, and they just kind of rotate through in that hour and a half. This is, have you ever played the Hungry Hippos game? That's what this is. Yep. So they have to go and scrape out how many balls. Then this is sharks and minnows. I don't know if you ever. So there's a shark underneath and your legs are underneath, and then they'll go and grab. And there's a lifeguard that runs around and tries to pull you back out to save you before the shark gets you. This one is, these are sponges that they had water that they fill it up, and then they run, and then they have to fill these water buckets up. This is musical chairs. This is a game that we have in the gym. They honestly don't play it very much during the year. This is the one time they love it. There's kids at the other end, boys on one side, girls on the other is the way they did it. And then they run as fast as they can. This is a Connect 4, if you've ever played Connect 4. And so they run and get that. What's that?
It's just a giant size.
Yeah, it's a giant size one. Yeah. And then this one is like they had to go under things and over things with like a spoon with it was supposed to be an egg, but it was a little puff ball. And then they had to throw a ball. So the kids had a great time. The one comment I said, middle schoolers are too cool to smile and say they're having fun. They were having fun. They were laughing, having fun, having a great time. So wish you would see that more often, but yeah. And I always end with GMS construction. I took this one today as I was in there. So this is inside. So this was the counselor's room area was right here. There you can see where the wall would have ended. They've taken this wall down. They've taken those extra rooms. And then this is, I counted it. This is 18 feet from the wall to here where a wall will come up. And then that is going to be one of the larger classrooms. So it's like 1.5 inches. So yeah, so that's one of them. And then I never get a picture of the backside. This is the backside, what the backside of it looks like. And then these are out my window. I always take pictures out my window. So it's very fun to watch it going on. So yeah. Yay. You guys are going to have a late night. Sorry, guys. All right. That's it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Have a great summer.
Yes, have a great summer. You guys too. Thank you. Are you going to Disneyland? Did I hear that?
Yes, I am.
Tomorrow?
Tomorrow afternoon.
Well, we're going in July. I love Disneyland.
Yeah. It'll be fun.
I'm so excited.
Don't close any rides because she wants to ride all of them.
I get motions even on the.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
I just can't do the teacups. Those things make me sick. But
Oh,
anything else is
totally different.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
And, you know, what
Enjoy
what
your
great
summer.
comes up, we were at Universal Studios in Orlando, or is that where it is?
Yeah.
I can't remember. And with my husband and I, we went on the new Velociraptor roller coaster last spring, and we got off it.
You're like,
And we
why?
said, We probably need to do that right again to decide if we like it or not, but we're pretty sure that shouldn't be.
We waited like over an hour for it. We got on it.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, honey, I'm not really for sure about this. I'm like, get me out.
Yeah, it was a little.
Good evening. All right, 7:10. I've got about 35 slides. So I'll try to get done by 8. Good. Good recap. Here we go. Rapid. No, so just 2 slides on summer school, 2 or 3, and then I'll kind of give you an update on what I'm doing over the summer. It's obviously a little bit different than what the building principals are doing, but the first 2 kind of updates for summer school, which are really neat. So the enrichment activities that we're really focusing on for our middle school students. We are, again, we partnered with Capaces out of Woodburn. It's a not just a social justice organization, but it really works with the Hispanic Latino community out of Woodburn, and especially really a focus on the migrant and the immigrant and the Latinx community, and long-term movement towards leadership with the students out of Woodburn High School. And we worked with them last year a little bit at the high school, and it was really successful. So we're going to partner with them for over the summer. They're going to work specifically with our middle school group, probably 24, 25 students. They're going to meet 4 times, kind of specifically with a couple other organic opportunities during the summer. But you can just see the first session, which is next Wednesday. We're going to take a bus. We're going to go to a farm that they run out of Turner. And they're going to go and they're going to work on culinary workshop type things and just kind of exposure to the food that they grow there at that particular farm. And, just kind of healthy organic cooking and kind of how that connects with some of the culture from Capaces and what they're doing. And then on Wednesday, the 1st, we'll bus them up to the Capaces facility up in Woodburn. And that's where they're just going to kind of talk about community care and how you lean into your own community. And if you want to make a difference, like you can start local and find things that you can do and do those things really well. And then on the 8th, they're going to come to us at Sacred Heart. They're going to talk with the middle schoolers about why caring about your GPA is important and how that translates into career opportunities and things like that. And then on the 16th, just kind of a conversation about holistic wellness. So what does it mean to care about yourself? And, obviously like social and mental health and stability and not just, everything, one specific thing that you can focus on, but just to be a healthy individual in general and how that pays dividends down the road. So really cool opportunity. They're really going to lean in on our middle schoolers this summer, especially, focusing on our 8th graders moving up to high school next year. So so that's really neat. And then yesterday, found out that, so also for our summer school, we have historically hosted a binational teacher from Mexico. And so I found out yesterday that we're going to get another one. A little late in the game for the ESD to be letting me know, but we pivoted right away. And we're like, we're going to make this happen. Summer school starts next week. But fortunately, he actually doesn't even arrive until early July. And so the first couple of days, he's just going to kind of hang out and just kind of get acclimated to everything we do. And then the last week of summer school, Eliana's kind of rebuilding the schedule for that. But our 3rd, 4th graders, 5th, 6th graders, 7th, 8th graders, he's coming from Zacatecas, northern central Mexico region. And so we've kind of already started to build like what he's going to be able to do with those students. So he'll have an hour with each one of those grade bands, kind of an introduction to the region that he's coming from, stories and legends, music and celebration, art and creativity. Specifically from that Zacatecas region is something called it's a wedding soup. It's kind of just a really unique food. So I asked Eliana to start asking around to see, there's a lot of wonderful families in Jervis that make really good food in mass. And so I'd love to know if there's any families in Jervis that can make that. And I said, we can figure out the details of it, but I'd love to be able to make a batch of it. And then towards the end of this, everybody can kind of have a sample of what that, what that meal is and what it tastes like. And so that's what he's going to do for the last week of our main summer school. And then yesterday found out that I lobbied kind of hard at the last second, and we got an additional $40,000 for summer school. And it's going to support just our migrant only students, or just our students identified as migrant status. And so we're going to extend our summer school by 2 full weeks just for those students. And if they're not attending the 4-week session, we're going to bring them in for those 2-week sessions. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to build it all around enrichment. So that first day that they're in, we're going to do some in-class literacy and math prep and around St. Louis Ponds. And then on that Wednesday, we're going to go over to St. Louis Ponds. We're going to do an ecological survey and study and art and that kind of stuff at the ponds. We're going to come back. They're going to do the same literacy math prep for Oregon Gardens. We're going to bus them up to Oregon Gardens the next day, and we're going to do the same type of thing. We're going to come back on Monday. We're going to do a math and literacy prep for what they can expect at OMSI. Then we're going to bus them up to OMSI. And then they're going to have 2 days of that class, literacy and math prep. And then on that Friday, we're going to bus them to the Oregon coast. So we're going to spend the day at the coast. Wow. Yeah. And we did this 2 or 3 years ago. And we have a number of migrant students who've never been to the Oregon coast. And it's not surprising, but it's also just kind of one of those things that it's like, Oregon coast is a quintessential part of living here. It's just to be able to experience it and smell that salty air and the sand and all that kind of stuff. So it's, we'll go there and we'll go to the Newport Aquarium, and then we'll hit the beach and we'll have fun and all that kind of stuff, and we'll bring everybody back. And then Juan Carlos, probably on Wednesday or Thursday, we'll do a family celebration to send him off. And then for OMSI and Oregon Coast, any students that are attending, they have any family member, any parents or guardians that have their background check passed, parents or guardians can come to OMSI and Oregon Coast with us. We'll transport them as well. And we'll figure out those details. And I've already talked with Veronica over at the Welcome Center to start making calls. And this is obviously not for 6 weeks. So if we have parents that are interested, like get their background checks done quick. Yeah. And we'd love to make, especially the Oregon Coast trip, we'd love to make that a family experience as much as it is just one for the students. So
what if Mr. Carlos come here? He just comes here to do summer school?
Kind of, yeah. So there's a binational teaching program that the ESD is a part of. And we've done it several years, and it's not obviously just the ESD, but they sponsor part of it. And they have educators in Mexico who are interested in coming up to the United States for kind of an experience, 4 weeks, 6 weeks worth of time. They find host families that they will live with for those 4 weeks or 6 weeks. Wow. And every single time the ESD is offered, I've said absolutely. I think it gives our students, whether our students are coming from Hispanic Latino families or not, it gives them experience and exposure to something that they likely wouldn't get any other way. And there's nothing but benefit from that. And hopefully I'll be able to get some good soup out of it. So yeah. And that's usually my angle. So I'm currently famished right now. I'm like, I've gone through a really hard training phase. I've got a bike race Saturday morning.
Oh, 100 miles.
It's a 100-mile bike race Saturday morning. So start at 6:30. Hopefully I'm aiming for about 5 hours and change, but like
local?
Great. Yeah, it actually starts and ends in the Oregon Gardens. So yeah, I'll be able to wait.
You better be eating, you better be fueling up.
I'll fuel up pretty hard Friday, and then I'm gonna bike pretty hard. But yeah, I'm currently really hungry. So soup on the mind.
There's some old pastries in there.
Don't get hangry now, don't get hangry.
So 2 slides of kind of what I'm working on over the summer. First one, case management adjustments for special education, especially the elementary school. Next year, I'm gonna take on case management for all of our private school students. Got about 8 to 12 of them. And that's gonna free up one of our case managers over there to take on more of our students that are at the elementary school themselves. So right now, Stacy Helm has the lion's share of all of them, and then Mercedes Cruz has some of them, and then our private school. I'm going to take the private school next year, which will have Stacy to give some to Mercedes, which eases Stacy's load quite a bit in a really meaningful way. And then Mercedes is able to serve more kids in building, and I'll just do the private school. So we're kind of making those adjustments over the summer. Bridge team working with Tony and Dusty and their teams. And then Chris and Kamad, and then Suze and Jacob at the high school. We're going to just kind of go back to brass tacks on how we are identifying and then creating our IEPs and our plans for those students on modified diplomas. Really leaning into, when we're creating our goals for our modified students, goals that are actually actionable by general education teachers. So oftentimes we create these goals that make a lot of sense from a special education perspective, but then you give them to the math teacher and they're just like, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. And then it can fall flat pretty fast. So we're really going to kind of go back to how are we going to create these goals that can be supported at the gen ed level in a way that the gen ed teacher feels empowered, but so does the sped teacher. And then obviously ultimately the student on the modified diploma. Working on revisions and clarifications. I'm going to take the lead next year on all of our functional behavior assessments, our behavior support plans, and then our manifestation determinations, which is when you get a student who's on a special education plan, who has a certain amount of discipline accumulated over the course of the year. We have to be able to sit down and have conversations. This has historically been done by other folks kind of piecemeal together, but just for the sake of kind of putting it under one unified system, I'm going to take the lead on all of these next year. So we're going to kind of go back to foundational stuff and revisit how we can do it cleanly and efficiently. Our ODE, English Language Learner Plan, was approved over the spring. I wrote in it an increased level of focus on data review and responsive supports by our ELD teachers. So they're going to be really surprised when they come back in the August. Surprised in a great way. They're going to come back in August, and it's like, we're going to do things a little bit different. Welcome back. Let's look at data. So I'm going to be preparing for that conversation. Unified National Banner application. And so this is kind of what Dusty was speaking a little bit about, the leadership teams and stuff. Unified National Banner is an application that you can submit for, and if you get it, you get a nice banner in your gym, and it basically says like your school, your district is leaning really heavily into a unified, not just athletics, but leadership. Our students that are heavily impacted by disabilities have a voice in the school system. They've got a place and a purpose, and you have students that are not impacted and those that are impacted that are working together on a variety of different things. We've slowly been kind of putting pieces together. This next year is kind of this last year where I'm going to be putting the pieces together to submit an application. Currently in the state of Oregon, I think there's one 4A school that's got a unified banner. Everybody else is 5 and 6A. Wow. So my goal is for us to be the first 2A district in the state to be putting a banner up in their gym. And I think we'll be close. So EL profile. So we did this for the middle school last year. It was moderately successful, but we kind of had to switch over of ELD teachers about halfway through the year. So we lost a little bit of steam, but again, we're building these individual profile sheets for our students that are just 1 or 2 domains away from passing full proficiency on the ELPA. We're going to lean into it more in the middle school next year, but we're also going to bring it up to the high school as well. And that's just every single teacher. If you've got an EL in your class that's like 1 domain away from passing the ELPA, you're going to get a sheet that says what their score is and strategies to help work on it, and really just trying to lean in on that. And when we revisit it, every other staff meeting and stuff like that. Care team at the elementary school. I wouldn't say that we explicitly have an issue with what we would call over-identification, which is when you have students that are being considered for special education eligibility and you determine that they're more eligible than they actually might be, which is we're over-identifying. But we have not paid attention to the risk factors that could be the case. And again, the state funds us up to about 11%. We are at about 18 to 19%. Now, to say, have we over-identified? I'm not going to say that we have. I'm not going to point to any one student on an IEP and say you shouldn't be on an IEP. But I believe that it makes a lot of sense, especially at the elementary school level, because that's where the overwhelming majority of them are identified, to be able to put some things in place this year, not to slow it down, not to impede the process, but say, are we being attentive to other obstacles that can present themselves, like language acquisition issues and other types of things that might appear to be a learning deficit from like a cognitive special, but it's actually it may be something else. And so we just need to be attentive to it because again, like we're not receiving any additional funding, but it then essentially becomes an unfunded mandate every time we keep going above 11%. And so we're going to pay attention to that.
But I just want
Yeah,
to clarify
yeah,
that we're
yeah.
not out of bounds compared to the rest of the state.
No. Yeah.
So that 11% cap, whatever you want
Yeah.
to call it, was established in what the 19.
I was like,
There's a long-
come from.
Yeah,
I mean,
like
Yeah.
1970s, they decided, 11% would be a good number.
And never-
And then
It's
they
never
have
been
to
Raise
raise
them
it.
themselves.
And so the state is running between like 17 and 19%. And then we know that there's conversations about revising that number at the state
Yeah.
level. But also to Creighton's point, it's important to be mindful of what we're doing.
And then the transition program garden. So I had about a $10,000 grant that we got. That's kind of, so this area is behind what's that Sam Brown modular that's in the back of the high school. So there's about a 5,000 square foot area that FiberFab used to use where they just would put a lot of their materials back there, but that land belongs to us. And so we cleared out a lot of the gunk. And this is what it looked like before we started doing our work. This is what it did look like. This is what it looks like now.
Oh, wow.
And this is what it's going to look like
Oh,
in the
nice.
fall.
Okay, nice. Love
And
it.
so we have a greenhouse. It's going to get assembled. It's sitting back there right now. It's going to get assembled. We have a tool shed. It's back there right now. It's going to get replaced. Lindsay McCarter and his woodshop class already have the specs, and they're going to build us a pergola that's going to go right there. So the students themselves are going to build that pergola, and it's going to be a sensory pergola. So it's not just kind of a place, but it's actually like for students that are sensory dependent on, some of our students with autism. Like it's going to be a place where they can go that's got sensory walls and stuff like that. We've got raised garden beds. I stopped off at the Al's Home and Garden store up in Sherwood last week, and they donated some really big planter pots for us. So we'll put those out there. So this is kind of a rendering of what it's going to look like.
Was that AI generated?
I actually put this together and then I broke it all down again and I put it back like this. Just yes.
After his training bike ride.
Yeah, right.
So we're doing a lot of work. That's also AI generated. I took our logo and I turned it into a question.
Woo.
Because I don't have a lot to do right now.
Exactly. So the garden,
Yes.
like, are they gonna plant like vegetables and stuff or?
100%. Yeah. And I just exchanged emails today with I think it's Scappoose School District has worked with a company that's out of Wisconsin, but they're like kind of a leading edge type company on hydroponics and in like growing herbs and other things in small spaces. And so I'm gonna connect with them about inside the transition program building. We've got some space. We might put something in there, but yeah, in the greenhouse, the idea is like we have a lot of students out there that are building some life skills around cooking. And so I'll probably work with Julie Powers next year as food services director, but we're definitely going to lean in on growing tomatoes and herbs and other things and and using those as part of their food prep. They're going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
And I'll probably put them in some soup.
Always on mind. You better
Full
go
circle
eat.
to that.
Awesome. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Good luck with
Well, what are you gonna do in July?
Uh,
And you've
Yeah.
got 8
No.
days left in June.
He's gonna just ride his bike.
no, I've got a 13-mile mud obstacle course race in September,
My word.
and then I shift into a really hard plan in April of 27. I've got another one of those Spartan mud obstacle course races. It's 32 miles. So I don't know. I will be hangry, but I will keep it at home. Actually, no, Emily's, if she's watching this, sorry, I will not do that again.
Get in the car before he gets home.
Yeah.
Already recorded. Sorry.
Yeah.
Living it.
Hey, can I ask you a quick question? What is that sign that's on 99?
That's our new sign.
Oh, yeah.
It just got installed today.
Oh,
yesterday.
And we have watch fire.
It's the,
Watch fire.
Well, I drove by it last night. It was there.
it's, yeah, it's just the,
Brand or something?
what do you call it? Like the default screen until it gets programmed.
Okay.
But
So that,
instead, we're just saying, watch for fire.
Yeah.
Be alert.
so that's something that you'll be able to tell what's going on. at
Yes,
school
so like,
On 99.
We're
Yeah,
gonna have a new reader
yeah.
board type.
so that, yeah, because that was.
It looks good. I mean, it
So
does.
that they could never see what's
Look,
going
we
on
said-
because it would come through the channel.
Yeah.
So the first messages we're gonna put up there has to do with the summer meal program.
Oh, nice.
There you go. Yeah, it's right. So you
Yeah.
Turn.
Sweet.
North, first, yeah. South.
$28 million, that's what we'll get you.
Got it. Worth the bargain, don't you?
Watch fire.
Yeah.
But you'll know what's going on.
Okay, I'm
Go ahead.
gonna be quick.
So quick.
Famous last word.
Just
Yeah.
a few things,
Yeah.
you know, the projection is down a little bit, so it's about at a 7.72 contingency, which we budgeted for 7.5, so still within the range, but I also was kind of doing kind of conservative on, you know, some of the encumbrances that we know will fall off, but I kind of kept them there, because I don't want it to, you know, I don't want to be surprised. Let's just put it that way. I don't want to be surprised by anything. So then on page 27, take a look at that page. This is the one I usually do, just showing, you know, month to month comparison for 4 years. But I threw in some figures on that this time too, just so you could kind of see what that means in the payroll and benefits side, because those are the parts that are really kind of growing the most in general. You can see there's almost a $1 million difference in just salaries alone from 2023 to 2026. And then the associated benefits go up as well, and those went up by about 700,000. So once we get those 3 months of payroll for June, I'm going to show you those figures again, so you can see how they kind of line up after those last 3 months are in. So then if you turn to page 29, this was something new for you this time. We've been doing this with our admin throughout this year. We've been showing them our subcosts and also kind of, we put in unpaid leave as an offset to it, because with Paid Leave Oregon, there's portions of their leave that they take that is unpaid because Paid Leave Oregon is going to pay them for their leave. And so I kind of put that together. This top portion is what we normally give to them, with the exception of the last 3 columns. But for you, I've added in also what Paid Leave Oregon cost us in, you know, as far as what we pay in payroll taxes on that. And so kind of the total, you know, what it looks like with Paid Leave Oregon for the district for the subs. So, and then I did some comparison of prior years, went back 5 years prior, to kind of show how those have been changing. I know 24, 25 was kind of high, but we also had a lot of unpaid leave offset to it. This year is not quite as much in unpaid leave offsets, but we do have another bill in for subs, which was about 16,000, so that figure will go up. But there will also be some level of paid leave Oregon offset for the unpaid leave, because we have a couple people right now that are out on, you know, that are paid, going through and collecting unpaid leave Oregon. And then we also have somebody who is on workers' comp, who's been out for quite a while on workers' comp. So that's an unpaid leave for them. And that is part of the offset as well. So anyway, it was kind of a little busy, but I just want to show you that's what we kind of have been reviewing this with our staff, our admin, just so they can focus on it too. It's so easy to just approve leave, approve leave, approve leave. But we really want them to look at what they're approving and, you know, and watch for patterns too, and people, you know, always going on Monday, Friday, those kind of things, because they cost money.
Well, I know this was obviously I don't want to say a shock, but this was an issue with our finances last year.
Mhm.
And we were hopefully going to try to prepare for it for this year.
Mhm.
From what you prepared to what you're seeing, what's the difference? I mean, like, did you prepare pretty on point for what you were expecting, or is it drastically different?
Well, actually, it's going pretty well as far as the subcosts. We have an amount in our resolution plan with Willamette ESD that is for subs. And we tapped into that much earlier last year where we were, so anything that is coded to the general fund is being paid for out of this lump of money that we get from Willamette ESD first. Now, grant funds come through and we pay those directly, right from the start of the year. So this particular year, we just now, in the last bill that we got, which is not even represented here, finally have the general fund going to all, all of them are now coming to us. But the last 10,000 of those resolution dollars just came out. And that probably is close to the last billing that we'll get for subs. So that was better because we're not tapping nearly into what we budgeted for subs in the general fund budget as
So like
we were
the ESD
expecting.
level, I'm gonna make this number up, 'cause at the ESD level, our pot of money was like $190,000.
Yeah, about right.
Okay. And then we had general fund money that we had set aside for subs as well. So last year, that ESD money was like gone. And so then we had to start really pulling from general fund. This year, we've just now run out of money at ESD and now are using it. And so it is less. And then for next year, we have a really good pot of money at the ESD level. But we still have budgeted in general fund, but we're hoping that it's going to be the same trend. And the thing is, like, we started sharing this again with administrators and directors so that they could get a handle on their employees who are out. And we expect students to have a 90% attendance rate. I would expect staff to, unless there's also, the medical condition or something like that, right? One of the, and this is not just a Jervis issue. This is happening in districts all over our region. And what's happening is that people who are, younger in their careers, they cannot take unused sick leave and put it into their retirement credit account, like people in tier 1 and tier 2 can do it first. And so they don't see the value in keeping their sick leave.
Oh, I see.
So they use it. And because then also when they do get sick, they don't have to worry about it because they've got paid leave working now. So, the days of, well, you better save every sick leave day because you're going to have a baby in a couple of years. They have paid leave work. A lot of time.
No way to incentivize them to keep it.
Some districts in bargaining are being presented with offers that they want the
To pay out.
they
for
want the districts to pay out for it.
But in the end result, you do anyway, right?
You pay less because if you pay out, then you also have the associated benefits and taxes. And whereas if you just pay for sub, it's $220 a day or 40 or 240, whatever it is.
Well, 3 years.
Sorry,
For a teacher.
Yeah.
I think it's probably an ongoing thing for a lot of
Yeah.
government responsibility.
No, anybody that has like a benefit that has paid leave with it like that is, it's a problem.
True.
Like we sit in the next 4 months.
So,
But I know Danby has taken on, looking at anybody who's trying to take just, unpaid leave just because he ran out of leave.
Yeah.
And it's becoming a discipline.
Yeah. I mean, that's the other thing. They burn through all their leave and then all of a sudden they need the leave.
Right.
And it doesn't qualify for paid leave Oregon. So they think they're just going to take unpaid leave. No, you're not. No, you have to have a doctor's note. You need to have, no, this is just not come to work when you think you want to. This is every day. So there's been some HR challenges with that.
Is that in our bargainings at all on both sides about unpaid leave?
Yeah, well, it's in policy that says we don't grant unpaid leave, except when unique circumstances. And, in both CBAs, I think it's after 5 days,
Yeah.
or if you suspect a pattern, you can ask for why they're gone. So, you know, when you look at, oh, you're gone every Thursday when Friday's a holiday, or you're gone every Tuesday when Monday's a holiday, or every early release, you seem to be sick at 1 o'clock.
Or you took your 3 personal days in a row and then tacked on a couple sick leave days a day.
Yeah.
There's not good.
That, yeah, it's,
That's
anyway.
But I do think it really helps for the admin to look at this, because there's just an idea of just blindly approving it, and then it's like, oh, we got a
It's
lot.
just one more thing that they're trying, you know, like, okay, fine,
Yeah,
click,
yeah.
click, click, and then all of a sudden.
So the money's that you're going up.
Are there any questions for me?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so my report, as a reminder, we're looking at having site visits to the different buildings in your July meeting. So I'll do a reminder of that, and I'll need to make sure you wear closed-toed shoes because we'll be in a construction zone. But you won't have to wear a hat unless you want to wear a hat. And I won't have to wear a vest. So it'll be guided tours, of course. I won't be going out. I was at COSA, the Seaside Conference, for about a day and a half. Just got back this afternoon, and there are several things that I learned that I think I'm just gonna wait until July and August to talk about, because I don't have all the details or the facts yet, and so there's no sense of creating issues. We've got plenty of issues right now. I would have to say that this year has probably been the most difficult HR year that I've ever had. And because it just never stopped. And also because your administrators are, you know, 2 of them are very young in their careers, so they don't have the expertise. So there's a lot of hand holding and working in the process with them. So there's been, I'll take you into executive session next month and give you some updates about what's coming on. We work in here today. And then I have just some bond updates that we'll do later on in the session. So, was there anything for me for my report?
Okay, consent items. Does anybody have anything?
Move Durham School District number 1 Board of Directors approve the consent items and listen in mass at 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, and 7.2.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye.
Okay, so for your next 3 action items, they're actually on the separate paper that Karen gave you.
Yes.
So, oh,
I-
sorry. Jenny has it.
I have it. I motion to approve resolution number 06-26-8.1, adopting the 2026-2027 budget in the total amount of $61,865,290 as presented. We have a motion. Do we have a second? All in favor? Aye. All right. I motion to approve resolution number 06-26-8.2, making appropriations for the 2026-2027 budget as presented. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
A motion to approve resolution number 06-26-8.3, imposing and categorizing the tax at the rate of 4.6427 per 1,000 of assessed value for the permanent tax rate, and in the amount of $1,650,000 for general obligation bonds as presented. The motion, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next one is regular session meeting calendar. That's on page 37 is the wording, and page 38 are the proposed calendar meeting dates for next year.
Everybody good with that?
I'm supposed to look today, but I don't think anything is,
They're pretty. There's nothing.
they're pretty
that's
normal as to
different,
what we
yeah.
normally have, so.
Okay, move Jervis School District number one board of directors approve the meeting calendar dates for 26, 27. As shown in action items 6-26-8.4.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Your academy budget. Are we good with their budget? Move Jervis School District number one board of directors approve Frontier Charter Academy 26-27 budget as shown in action and agenda item 6-26-8.5.
Do we have a motion? Do we have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye. Everybody, what, I guess this is those, all the readings.
So-
I just have one question.
Yeah.
On the, vacancy on the board,
Mhm.
um,
What page is that in?
it's 40, 45, and 46.
Okay.
Number 6, it was, will appoint the applicant, will vote and appoint the applicant. And then it's like, the newly appointed board member will take oath. Is that at the next month's meeting though? Or is that like at the meeting we actually vote at?
It can be either.
Oh,
Yeah,
I just was like,
Depending
is
on-
there?
like if you had multiple applicants or they weren't here.
Okay.
We're good with the options. We have the board officers and optional.
We just through the, what was it, sick? Yeah, sick time with the. When we had. Marie, did you have anything that?
You did it.
All right. Well, so, I moved your school district number one board of directors to approve changes to policies BBAA, BBE, BBE-AR, ECB, GBA, GCBDA/GBBBAR1 and GCBDB/GBEDB4.
I just want to make sure we know our letters. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Okay, bond project update. So I think last week was the week of, everybody wanted $200,000. Every time I saw Gus, he'd stand in my doorway and say, "I'm really sorry, Andy," and then start talking. It's kind of a funny joke, but not funny. So, there are a couple of things that are happening that I just wanted you to be aware of. And so the first thing is that in the bond language, it talks about upgrading technology and security systems and all of that. So there's, I think, about a $300,000 line item for those kinds of things. But as we are getting into this process, you know, the rest of our cameras are so old that they clearly won't talk to the new cameras. And so, and the server is crashing. We don't have any way of keeping footage. I mean, it's just held together with bubblegum and tape. And so to get everything up to speed and exactly where it needs to be, it's going to cost an additional $275,645. 48,000 of that is for a cloud and storage subscription, and it's good for 5 years. So tech will have to plan that in 5 years from now, they need to come up with probably 53,000 to have the cloud and storage. And it's based per camera. So each camera that you have connected to the cloud, you pay a fee. It might be that in 5 years, it'll be time to replace a couple of those cameras. They'll have better power, better capacity. So instead of having to have 2 cameras in one place, you can have 1. I don't know. So at the same time, the sound system at the elementary school seems to have gone kaput in the gym.
Go figure.
So I don't have the price on that. The other thing that happened last week is that we had intended to just do small patchworks and resurface the high school parking lot. Well, it is the kind of original parking lot with asphalt. And so as they've been trying to kind of figure out where they're going to start patching, it is just crumbling. And so that will be $250,000
To do the whole park.
to do the whole park.
Well, that sounds like a park. That's a big thing.
Yes, but it was not necessarily planned for.
I like it. Yeah.
Not planned for.
I was thinking closer
Yeah.
than that. So anyway.
Yeah, so then the gym floor at the high school. So there seems to be some problems there, apparently still. So we were getting ready to demolish, and prior to demolition and getting ready for everything, RNC had done asbestos testing along the wall, like where the gym floor gets close to the wall. They did that in March. Not hot. All right. So I assumed we were not hot. And then the guys started ripping out the floor last Wednesday and said, that looks like it could be asbestos.
What?
Under
So
the
they
floor?
under the floor. So they stopped and had to get testing, and apparently there's this blue and this black. I'm gonna use the analogy of, you know, when you put like layering down on your garden, if you're gonna put a barrier down for the weeds, right? Black stuff.
Yeah.
There was that meshy stuff there. It's all hot. And so that stopped all work, of course. And so when I asked, how did this get missed? Because in my mind, I'm not the expert, but I did point out that I'm paying a lot of money for people to be the experts, that I'm going to test multiple areas to
Right.
see if there's asbestos. And then I said, wait a minute, when they did the patch, when they first damaged the floor, that was on the court. That wasn't by the wall. Did they not test it for asbestos? I have not been able to get the answer to that question. All right, I've been told that that's a very good question.
Oh my.
And so the abatement is like another $120,000, which is not budgeted for. And so the problem is we have to move forward because part of the gym floor is now torn up and asbestos is there. And we have to get the wood into the gym so that it can acclimate. You cannot get the wood up into the mezzanine because of the stairs. You'd have to unpack and hand carry each piece of wood up into the mezzanine and then bring it back down. So we have to get it abated and then bring the wood in to acclimate for 2 weeks. So now we're already 2 weeks behind. And so it's a problem.
Can I ask, when we did because we replaced the floor, didn't we already? Or did we just
No.
surface it?
We didn't do anything with it. We just we're going with the patch that the
No.
Kirby had
A
done.
while, like many years ago.
Oh, you resurfaced, you
Yeah.
refinished
We
it.
just
Yeah,
refinished it.
just
We didn't tear it.
Took the wax off,
And
put it
that-
right back on.
Yeah, okay. All
Yeah,
right.
you didn't. Yeah, there
So
was
that
nothing.
floor's been there forever.
It's still
It's the
something
same
to have
floor.
caught it before now with all the stuff that's happened in
That
there.
has been my stance, that I don't know why anybody would assume that something built in the 1960s didn't have asbestos.
Especially since our building is.
And I don't know why anybody would keep saying we've never seen anything like this before, because we have. Every time we open a wall, we've never seen anything like it before, so you should just assume that that's how we do business here.
Not to mention, these folks are tearing down buildings as old as ours, and you
Yes.
can't tell me they don't know. So anyway.
So
Yeah.
I had a couple of questions that I don't have the answers to yet. So the first one is I asked Julie to contact her insurance agent again because they gave us a payout assuming that there was no asbestos. And so I want to know, like on the
There's
areas that would have been patched, there, you would have had to abate it, how much you're gonna give us. At the same time, I don't believe Kirby did their due diligence because they had that floor open and he saw that same material there. And I don't think there was an asbestos
I
test
don't think
done.
they want to.
And so if they had done that back in August, there would have been additional information and perhaps I would have made a different decision. Or I might not have, but at least I would have had the information to make.
Know what we're
An
going
informed
for in the
decision.
future.
And then I'm also not satisfied with RNC's response and their lack of destructive testing of the floor to determine if in fact there was. So I feel like there should be a shared ownership in this extra $100 and some thousand.
Say yes.
But I don't know what that's gonna look like.
Correct.
So those were the 3 really fun things last week. And so I just want you to be aware that, you know, we think we're gonna be able to cover it with the contingencies that we have in the bond or the insurance money. Not the insurance money, the interest money.
Oh,
But if there's not enough, we might have to tap into Frontier Charter to make the books correct. And so as of today, you have $818,000 in Frontier Charter. We're not gonna know what this all looks like until next summer. At that time, you're gonna get another $240,000 to put into that account. So even if you had to come up with the $500,000 for like the security system and the high school parking lot, you're still gonna have at least $500,000 in that account. I just wanted you to be aware.
But didn't we already know that the cameras that we have weren't gonna be compatible with the new system? Did you want, I thought we had,
Yes,
somebody
but-
had a conversation with.
We knew that there was gonna be problems, just not the extent of what it was gonna look like to have to get all of them to talk to each other. And that's what, you know, in theory, we should have enough contingency in the bond money to pay for this extra $275. But, and also in my mind, Pioneer has not, it's getting ready to go hot, you know, for sale. And there's a cost associated for us having security systems there. I'm like, well, if it's going for sale, I'm probably not gonna pay for their security system.
Right.
So, you know, there's about $25,000-$30,000 that gets knocked off there.
I don't wanna, we're doing this, we said it was gonna be safe, that's what we're putting money towards, so. Here's what it is, we knew this
Yeah.
stuff was gonna come up.
I
all
feel,
the time, in my opinion.
this part right now, the part that we're in, I feel is like dangerous. This is when it's all gonna go sideways, right? Because we're finally getting to open lots of things.
Right.
That's the thing.
And so, but I mean, they're going hard. Go look at the elementary school and half the siding's gone already. So, we've had some other asbestos testing come back, not hot in that building. So,
Which is the older building.
yes. So, I think in another month, I mean, this week I have not received really any surprises. It is only Wednesday. But, I feel like in another couple weeks, we're gonna get past this phase and go from there. So, it's peaceful.
You're gonna go scream it all out. It's on all
Yeah,
right.
my roller coaster ride.
I can't get on. That's not my warehouse.
That's my update on that. Board self-evaluation timeline. So this is the time where we usually talk about, if you want to do the little survey of yourself and how you did as a board, that would start. We do that during the month of July, and then we get the information back and then give it to you in August.
Did we do that last year? Oh,
I think we skipped you.
I think we did because
because.
Angie had left the
Yes.
board, Leah was gonna be new,
Yes.
and so do you want to do it this year?
Could you refresh my memory? Who does the survey?
OSBA puts it together for you.
Oh, okay. But like, is it the one that we send out to the community?
No, it's an electronic survey.
Oh, that
you
we
take.
do.
Yeah.
I think I say pass.
Okay,
Yeah. Get a year in and then work one.
Well, and I also think, yeah, you're gonna be looking at the strategic plan and there's, things that you're already doing, and I think that you've got the information. Okay, and then the final thing, so you have all of these policy first readings. There was one in my packet that printed out weird. It was the board committee one. It was on page 71 and 72. So, Sandra, did you find one other packet that printed weird?
Yeah, I took it out, so
Okay.
they don't have the weird one.
Okay.
But I did,
Okay.
it did include an extra copy just in case.
Oh, what was weird, cause this is the old, my.
Page 71, so Dandy's packet.
It was
I'm
like
like, what? Yeah,
all
you
with
can't-
emojis.
Oh.
Oh,
Fun.
We're overworking technology.
Yeah. So,
no.
so those are all policy first readings.
Okay. All right, well, nothing else, then this meeting is adjourned.
Thank
Hey,
you.
go chat on your sister. She might be asleep.
I'm probably